Hello! I thought I'd make a quick video just to show you how in 19 days we were able to get rid of a rather large stump, all manually, hand tools, a lot of effort, a lot of perseverance, and a good bit of insanity. Here's how we did it. I'll show you mainly in pictures, but there's some video as well. There's the place where the stump was. One of the main tools that I used. This is a hand rake. It had 3 prongs, but one of them decided to depart. But the flexibility is the key. So some of them come very stiff. Those are tough because you got all those little roots, and this just works its way around. So this is a very, very handy tool. Well, the first thing, of course, we had to do was cut down the tree, and so we did that little by little. I am not a professional arborist, so I worked at it very carefully, slowly, and we took it down branch by branch. It was near a fence, so occasionally we had to fix a part of the fence that was hit, but for the most part we were able to get them to drop clearly, no issues, little by little. We had to climb up and cut them down, take them away. There's one section of the fence that kind of got broke, but we fixed it. So eventually the tree was down to a few more strands, and I had to climb up and make some of those cuts. It was carefully strapped in, so that was no problem, but certainly was glad when it was done and down. So once back on the ground, we just finished a few of the last few cuts. And the last part of the tree was rather huge, and it went down with a big thud, made a big dent in the ground, but we were able to cut it up and make a tremendous pile in the back. So there's one little ding in the fence, but no big deal. So the fence was easy. And here's the big stump. So here's the focus now. We want to get this out of the ground and make sure we can have some grass to mow around it. The problem with this big tree was it was just hogging every bit of sunlight, and so now he has some clearing. But to get that stump out, it took a lot of time. So I want to show you in pictures the 19 days that it took to dig that out by hand, and then to rake some nice dirt and put some grass down eventually. Alright, so on the first day we took that hand rake and just began to pull back the dirt from the stump just to see where the root structure was, and that was the important first step. More of the same thing, pulling back the dirt with that hand rake, maybe even a larger rake. To reveal the root structure, we did a pressure washer to expose the roots and found this to be a massive stump, revealing to us all the work that we had to do to dig underneath all of that and to cut it loose. On day 3, we began to peel back the root structure with a reciprocating saw, accessing roots as we could and cutting them off, discarding them. And that process of the reciprocating saw, digging, that became the main process through this entire project. Okay, winter fun. So we got a little impatient and wanted to see if we could move things along, so we did set the fire, but in the end all we did was get warm because it was cold out, and this was the end of the project until the spring. So there it sat all winter. Alright, so on day 5 in the spring we began to work at it again, and we noticed, of course, that the center of the stump was rotted out, so we began to target that with charcoal and with a barrel. to contain the heat. That did seem to help some, but because the stump was so big, we just decided to just let it burn because it couldn't stay up very well. So we kept feeding that with scrap wood we had, began to hollow out the center, and that was important because it began to give us access to the center. On day 6, we decided to continue the burning from the previous day, and so we relit that fire and fed it with lots of scrap wood and even an old door to just try to get some heat. And this fire did begin to hollow even more that center, so we could have much more access to that part of the tree. On day 7, we didn't use the fire anymore. We realized we had to do the hard work of digging, and so with the hand rake and the sawzall and the hatchet, we began to dig the dirt and cut the roots as we're able to do that. This was the process, slow process of exposing the bottom area of the stump so that eventually we could get under it with fire and cut out and cut away this large stump. On day 8, the work continued the same as the previous day, just cutting, raking, persevering. On day 9, the work continued just as the previous, working counterclockwise. Of course, you can go either direction. That's just the way we went. Digging, cutting. I had a crowbar that helped separate many of the roots so we could get at it with a pruning blade. On day 10, we decided to start the fire again, and so we with charcoal and kerosene lit the fire and added scrap wood and began to burn it, and that helped hollow out the front of it more in the center, so eventually we could get under it and the fire underneath it. That's the key, to get the fire below it so it's burning not just from the top down, which is a very slow process. And so we worked at it, and again, the front end was the key. We used that as the access to most of it. On day 11, it was just more digging. We made our way more around counterclockwise to the other side, exposing roots and cutting them away as we were able. On day 12, we continue the process. You'll see that we used a shop vac to pull back a lot of the dirt. That was very helpful. I saw that on a YouTube video where a gentleman exposed an entire stump. So that does help. You have to empty it a lot, but it does help with the fine dirt that's hard to get out by hand. By day 14, we were able to expose the entire root structure all the way around. I did have to use a chainsaw a few times, but of course you have to do that very carefully because if you hit dirt, you're dull. So we're able to get that exposed so then we can make the next step. The massive stump. If we just get a crane, just lift it up, all right? On day 15, we turned back to fire, and that began to be exciting because we're getting closer and closer. You can get stump fatigue very easily on a project like this, but if you just keep going little by little, you eat the elephant bite by bite, and you make progress. So the fire began to eat it away in the front and gave us more access as it went. On day 16, I drilled some holes in the top of the stump and with a funnel put in some soybean oil to see if that might help. I think it helped a little. It certainly made it smell nice, but the main focus was digging out the burn, the cinders, and the dirt from the previous day and exposing more and more of that stump so that eventually we could reach the other side and we could have a fire underneath that would begin to burn it from the bottom up. And that's what we did. Still got a lot, but we're getting there. Part of the reason I thought it would be nice to publish this very unprofessional video was just to let people know how long it does take, at least how long it took us. But it can be done. You can dig out, you can burn out a stump in 19 days. And so here on day 17, I dug away more of the previous day's burn, exposed more and more roots. And eventually we want to get the fire all the way around the perimeter, which we were able to do. And so again, we're getting real close. So the key thing is just keep persevering. Set your sights on little progress, but progress nonetheless. Here on day 18, we continue the same process, but we were able to get through to the other side. That was a key thing, that we could get the fire to go all the way under it and onto the other side. And so that made a big difference. So the key also with this is to make a very, very hot fire. We had lots of tree branches that were dry, things that had been cut down previously, and so you got to keep the fire very, very hot to keep it doing its work. And so this day we made a lot of progress with the fire. It was able to get underneath it, burn through a hole in the top, and so it greatly expanded our ability to be able to actually the next day cut with a chainsaw major chunks. Again, the key with the chainsaw, you know, is you cannot hit dirt or stone. And with a stump this size, there's lots of stone and lots of dirt in all of the roots that are up near the top, and so you have to be very careful. So once I knew there was a clear path for the chainsaw, I was able to cut off big chunks, as you'll see in the next day, and then just rip it out. But this was a major milestone this day, as we burned a lot of it away with the fire, with a very strong, very hot heat. And so we're getting real, real close. I was determined to get this thing out, and we're about there. It's gone. A little taproot there. That can rot. Now to fill it in. So in 19 days, we were able to get this stump out by hand using just simple tools, but it takes a persevering perspective, knowing you'll make progress a little at a time, but progress nonetheless. So again, thank you for watching. I hope this might inspire you to do this very same thing with the tools you might have in your garage.